Today we're going to be going over the receipt posting and dispersing along with statements processing process. Starting with the receipts posting and dispersing, we are starting off with the billing dashboard. And on the right upper corner of your billing dashboard, you have your pending receipts item. This pending receipts item will inform you of any receipt batches that you have that are open. In other words, they have not been dispersed at this point. If a receipt batch consists of more than one receipt that has been included into a batch to be dispersed. In this case, to view this receipt batch and to work on it, or to create a new receipt batch, you could either click the word receipts, or on your left-hand side on your navigation pane, you could click on the receipts window under the payment posting section. Once you click on the receipts window within the payment posting section, you'll be brought up a receipt batch listing. The receipt batch listing will show you any open batches you have, which in this case, the one batch that we're previously seeing on the billing dashboard. If you choose to work on this current batch, you could simply double-click on it and work on this current batch. If you wish to create a new batch, at the bottom of the screen, you would want to click the New button, thus allowing you to create a new batch. In this case, we're going to go ahead and create a new batch by using our New button at the bottom of the screen. Then we will enter in the date range that we would like the batch created for. And the date range will signify which dates you want the system to actually go out and see if there's any receipts that have not been dispersed and included in your batch. So I will be selecting my from date from 12/15 to today. Once you enter your date range, go ahead and click OK, and the system will go out and pick up all pending receipts within that date range that you entered. You will then be displayed the receipt disbursement listing. The receipt disbursement listing will show you where all receipts are being allocated to within your receipt batch. Notice that on this receipt batch, all my receipts have been allocated, and the way you're able to tell that is by using the claim column, which shows you which claim it has been associated with, the data service column, which shows you which data service it has been allocated with, and the procedure column, which shows you which procedure has been allocated with. Along with these three columns, you also have your final column on the right-hand side, which has the icon as of a checkbox, which means it has been allocated. In this case, if you had a red exclamation point, it means the receipt has not been allocated at this point, and therefore you will need to allocate that receipt. In the case that you would like to change where the receipt has been allocated to, you could simply double-click on that receipt, and thus bringing you to this window, which is now broken down into a receipt listing section up top and a procedure listing section at the bottom. The receipt listing up top will show you all receipts within your batch. And then you could then click on each receipt and view the open procedures for this patient at the bottom of the screen under your procedure listing section. In this case, I have Smith-Michael selected, and under my procedure listing, these are all the different procedures that Smith-Michael has with an open balance. I could choose to click on another receipt, and notice my procedure listing section will now update according to that patient's open balances. Within the middle of the receipt listing and the procedure listing section, you'll have information on the receipt you currently have selected, such as the patient's name, the responsible party, the receipt amount, and the receipt balance. Once again, if you wish to change the applied of a receipt to a different data service or a different procedure, you can do so by coming to the procedure listing section, removing the amount on the applied box for the current procedure. You'll then go ahead and click on the procedures you would like to apply that amount to on the applied box and key in the amount you would like applied. Once you have done so, go ahead and click Post at the bottom of the screen to save that. and this will now apply the receipt to the procedure you have chosen. At the bottom of the screen, you also have another set of buttons that are very useful when working on your receipt batches. The first button you have on the left-hand side is going to be your search button. This allows you to search for receipts using the criteria up top of a receipt, the A from and to, the user, the resource, and the method. The second button on the bottom of the screen is the clear button, and that will clear any search criteria you have entered. Then you have the open receipt button, and that allows you to open the receipt you currently have selected under your receipt listing section. So if I wanted to see Smith Michael's receipt, I can simply click Open Receipt, and it opens up my QuickPay, and does also allowing you to do a reversal if necessary if a duplicate payment had been entered. To do a reversal, you'll simply select the receipt transaction, then click the reversal button at the bottom of the screen, and apply or OK that reversal. The next button you have at the bottom of the screen is the History button. The History button will show you the history of the procedure you currently have selected on your procedure listing. So if I wanted to see the procedure of that claim, I can click History, and thus showing me the history of that claim. The next button you have at the bottom of the screen is the Open Patient. This allows you to update the patient if necessary. So by clicking so, your patient setup will open for the patient you currently have a receipt selected for, and you can now make changes as necessary. The next button you have is the Open Claim. This will open the claim for the procedure you currently have selected on your procedure listing section. Also does allowing you to make any necessary changes to that claim or any additions. The next button you have is the New Claim, and this allows you to create a new claim for the patient you have selected on your receipt listing window. Then you have your Post button, which again posts any changes that you have made to your procedure listing. Then you have your Disbursement button, which allows you to disperse the batch. Then you have your New button, which allows you to create a new receipt batch. And you have the Close button, which will close out of the receipt window. In this case, since my batch has been completed, I am going to go ahead and click my Disbursement button. It will bring me back to my receipt disbursement listing window. And I can now confirm and disperse this batch by clicking the Post button at the bottom of the screen. Once you have done so, these receipts have now been dispersed to the claims you have allocated them to. You can now click OK on this batch job of receipts has been initiated. And notice my receipt batch is no longer listed on here. Once you have done a receipt batch and you have dispersed the receipts, those receipts are no longer able to be included in any other batch. So if I were to replicate the batch we just created from 12/15 to today's date of service, notice that the system will actually give me an error stating that there are no receipts within the receipt range. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and then you could modify the date range as necessary. In the case that you have a receipt batch that has a red exclamation point, this signifies that this receipt batch still has balances that have not been allocated. You can now double-click on that batch to work on it. Once again, you would be displayed the receipt disbursement listing. And within the receipt disbursement listing, you can tell which receipts have been allocated and which ones have not by looking at the first three columns, claim, date of service, and procedure. And the last column, which the check mark signifies that the receipt has been allocated at this point, and the exclamation point signifies the receipt has not been allocated. Once again, to work on these receipts, you can simply double-click on them. That will bring up the receipt listing and the procedure listing window. And now you can signify where you would like to allocate this receipt to. So currently, I am under Smith Bob. These are the procedures for Smith Bob. And now I can select where I would be posting that receipt to. So in this case, I am going to state I will be posting $10 to this procedure. And the remaining balance of $10, I will now be posting to this procedure. Once I have entered both of my values, you'll now click Post to save your changes. And you can move on to the next receipt, replicating the exact same steps. If you notice, once I clicked on Smith David in this case, no claims have been displayed under my procedure listing at the bottom. To confirm that there is no actual procedures or claims out there for this patient, you can check the Include Zero Balance checkbox and the Include Other Responsible Parties checkbox. And to the right of it, you would want to hit the two blue arrows to refresh that. And this will show you if there is anything out there. In this case, there is. I do have two different procedures on here for this patient, one on which I'm able to apply an amount to, and one which is currently grayed out. The reason a procedure listing under the applied box would be grayed out is because the actual responsible party on the claim is different than the responsible party on the receipt. To correct this, you could simply open the claim and change the responsible party. To do so, click your Open Claim button at the bottom of the screen once your procedure has been selected. Once the claim does come up, you could click your responsible party drop-down and assign that responsible party. In this case, there is no responsible party listed, thus the reason it was grayed out. I can now click my drop-down, select my responsible party, click OK to save the changes, and close it. And now if I hit my two blue arrows to the right of my Include Zero Balance Claims checkbox and my Include Other Responsible Party, you'll notice that I'm now able to enter in an applied amount for that procedure. You can now key in those values. And notice, although it is a zero balance claim, you could still put that amount in there and leave that patient with a credit on those claims. However, notice my icon does change to a yellow triangle with an exclamation point, letting me know that a credit will occur if I do save this. This does not mean that it is an issue, and you could still continue to do so if you like. In this case, I would like to continue, so I'm going to go ahead and press Post to save my changes, and I'll be moving on to my next receipt. Once again, I'll be replicating the same steps. I'm going to go ahead and apply the amount to the claim that is, the procedure that is necessary, and I'm going to go ahead and press my Post button. Once you have done reviewing all your receipts, you can now click on Disbursement at the bottom of the screen to view your batch in whole and make sure that everything has been allocated. So by clicking my disbursement, I'll get my receipt disbursement listing, and now it shows me that everybody has the green checkbox and everybody has been allocated except my first two receipts up here, which is the ones that I have not done at this point. Also note that since these have not been allocated, my Post button to disperse this batch is not available and will not be available until they have been allocated, in which case I can now double-click on them and choose to correct them at this point. Now that I have corrected both of those receipts and I have put in applied amounts on both of those, I'll now go back to my disbursement window and review what I have done and make sure that I am able to disperse it at this point. Once again, if this had been completed, you will be able to click your Post button, and this will allow you to disperse your batch. This does conclude the receipt posting and dispersing process. The statement posting and the statement processing process. To process statements, it's a similar process to processing claims. You'll be using your billing query on your navigation pane to search for those claims and to batch those claims as a statement batch versus a claim batch. In order to do so, you would use your search criteria column, and the most common way to do so is use your claim status. Again, you can choose to use other criteria to find specific claims that you would like to batch. If you're using your claim status, there's always three statuses that you would select that would apply to statements. Those three statuses are ready to send statement, meaning a statement has yet to have been sent for that claim. The sent statement, meaning that at least one statement has been already sent to that claim. And a closed electronic superbill, meaning that a statement has not yet been sent to that claim and that claim has been created from the EMR or scheduler. Once you have selected your three statuses, go ahead and click on your magnifying glass to perform the search. This will then show you all claims that fall into those statuses. And again, if necessary, make sure your max rows are greater than the total number of results, which in this case, my results are 1,072 on the right upper corner here. Once you have met those requirements and you're okay within your viewing on your claims, now go ahead and review the claims that you would like to include on your statement batch. And again, any claim that is checked will be included. Any claim that is unchecked will not be included on your statement batch. Once you have reviewed all the claims and you are okay with the claims that are being included on your statement batch, you are now ready to batch those claims. Note that I do have some closed electronic super bills that do have a primary insurance, and these will actually be excluded from the batch due to the fact that they still need to be processed to the primary insurance. The system will automatically do this, so therefore I did not have to actually uncheck any of these claims. Once again, once you're ready to batch, go ahead and come to your green arrow icon on your billing query toolbar. We're going to click the drop-down, and we're going to select the Submit Statements option. In doing so, you'll get the Prepare Batch window. Note that the Prepare Batch for Statement is what's being selected at this point. Below it, you have a message 1 and a message 2 on which you could type a message if necessary to be printed on all statements. At the bottom, you have where it states the total number of claims that were selected. And below that, you have the number of claims which are actually in statement mode. So although I selected 27 claims, only 3 of those claims are in statement mode. So note that the system actually does exclude any claim that needs to go out to the primary that was checked. So once I click on OK on this pop-up, this will now only prepare a batch with 3 statements, not the original 27 I have selected, because those still need to be processed to the primary insurance. This also informs you that you can view this batch in the claim submission window. I'm going to go ahead and click OK on here now, and I can now move on to my claim submission window. On the claim submission window, I'll now be able to view my batch, which again states that the batch type is statement, the creator, the total number of claims, the total failed, and the total passed. If any of my claims did fail, you can simply double-click on your batch, which will show you all the claims that are within your batch, and by default, any claims that do fail will be put up top with the pass checkbox unchecked. To correct those, you can simply double-click on the claim, thus opening the claim window for you, and you can now make the necessary changes to those claims. In this case, since all my statements did actually pass, I am ready to go ahead and process that batch and print my statements. To do so, again, you'll double-click on your batch, which will bring up the submission detail, which will show you all the claims that are within your statement batch. And now I can go ahead and click Process on the right lower corner, and my Process Submission box will come up, which will show me that I'm actually processing the submission, and I am going to print the statements to an envelope base. We have 2 different types of envelope options, the base and the base 2. The base reflects to the window location, to the address where the window of your envelope is located. The base 2 is a different location. Depending on the envelope you have, it will be the selected item you would select. You also have a reprocess submission, which if you did correct any claims within your batch, you would want to reprocess your submission so the system can revalidate that batch. And you also have your remove submission, which will remove that batch if you no longer wish to proceed with it. In this case, I do want to go ahead and print my statement, so I will be clicking OK. Then I will get this pop-up letting me know the submission is now being processed. Go ahead and click OK on that as well. And now a window will come up with all the statements that you are going to be printing. So notice on the left-hand side you have your patient name, and you can actually click on each patient, and it will show you the statement for that specific patient. And on the right-hand side, you have the image of the statement. You can actually scroll through here and view all the statements as well. Prior to proceeding with your statements, make sure you're okay with the credit card options that is being displayed up here, that you are okay with the statement information as far as the practice address, and at the bottom of the statement, you're okay with the phone number, the hours of operation, and etc. If you choose to modify any of this information, such as the credit card or the phone number, the hours of operation, all of these options can be modified using your setup portal. To do so, we will be closing out of our statement window, Then we're going to go ahead and click on your Setup portal on your navigation pane. And under the Setup portal, you're actually going to go ahead and scroll down to the Administrative Setup. And under the Administrative Setup, we're going to be selecting the Company Settings option. On the Company Settings, you can now search for the item that you would like to modify. In this case, let's say I would like to state that we do accept American Express as well. I can now type that in. The system will perform a query and bring up that criteria. And if you notice, my criteria is actually set to no, to not use American Express credit cards. If I do accept them, I can now click on that, check the value, so it does accept it, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. Same goes for a Discover card, or if you don't accept Visa or MasterCard, same concept. You would simply type in that name, and it'll bring it up, and you can now modify that. Once you have major changes, you can now go back to your billing. You would want to regenerate your batch so it does pick up with new settings, and I'll quickly do so. So again, I will be going to my billing query. I'll be searching using my 3 claim statuses. Now, we go ahead and batch in those claims for some misstatements. I'm going to go ahead and click OK and OK. And I'll return to my claim submission window. I am going to refresh because I had been previously on this window already, and I do need to see the newest batches that were created. Notice my batch is listed here now. I can double click on it. I'll click my process. OK. And OK again. And now notice my statement does include the American Express option now. Thus concluding our statement processing process.